by like 45-ish is my guess.
Okay.
So
that's perfect. Thank you.
of course.
And yeah, welcome to anyone who just joined. Very excited to have you. And yeah, this will be amazing. Thank you, Naomi, for reaching out to us, because you have that drive and initiative that inspires me and will inspire all of us here. And thank you so much for coming to present today.
Of course. I'm so excited to be here and just to have this conversation with kind of like-minded individuals. So we'll give it a couple more minutes and then we'll just get going, everyone.
Yay.
Good.
Meanwhile, feel free to get some water, put on some music. We would, but sharing the audio might not be the best, so enjoy.
we just roll with the hand words out, my friends. For sure.
Naomi, do you want to take a picture for the Instagram before we get started?
I was about to, I literally have my phone out. I was literally about to say that. Oh my gosh, I think we have the same phone case.
Oh my gosh, I love this one.
Wow, yes. I know, it's perfect, it's simple, it's effortless. Here, I think I'll do a boomerang. Yeah, okay. Here.
Beautiful.
Ready? We can just do like a wave thing, okay? Ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Perfect.
That's so cute. Thank you.
Of course.
And then
I'll repost.
Go ahead.
Oh no, you go first. I was about to just say I'll just post that on all the takeovers I'm doing, which is fun. Cross promotions.
Oh, thank you. No, yeah, it's really amazing. I love the organizations you're doing takeovers with too. You are really the queen of, honestly, like taking over the world. You're doing everything. So amazing.
We shall see, right? I know, but it's fun to do takeovers for sure. So anyone who's listening, definitely do takeovers. They're fun, or just like watch them and just ask questions, because you can learn so much, especially when someone just has like 24-hour access and you're just gonna like be honest and authentic, on social media, which is sometimes hard to find. So
yeah, absolutely. Sharing your story, especially if it's the most sincere or like effective story that really motivates you, is so important. And it's so great that Naomi really embodies that here and is succeeding in so many different ways. And also also just to anyone who joined and didn't hear this, we will be recording this, so if you have to leave, you can watch it after, or if you have friends who weren't able to make it, you can send it to them after. We'll send you the link, and we'll be starting shortly, but we're going to ask you to just, if you don't want to be in the video, just leave your camera off, and if you don't mind, feel free to turn it on.
Yes, exactly what Annelise said. I echo everything. If you don't want to be seen, that's okay. We know you're listening. And if not, that's okay too. It's just all what you would like to do. I get that. As being on school for like 24 hours a day, right? It's totally fine to, you're just, making a green smoothie or just making some food. Totally fine.
Yeah, thanks, Naomi. It's also pretty early, and usually I would probably just be waking up now, so it feels great to be up early. Good for all of you for being here. And whenever you're ready, Naomi, we can get started, or if you prefer to wait a few more minutes, we can see who might join, but whenever you want.
Yeah, let's just go for it. And then if people join, they can just join in the fun. So it's pretty easy to pick up the pace. So which is nice. So hi, everyone. My name is Naomi Porter. I am going to talk to you guys a little bit today about youth entrepreneurship, impactful advocacy. And then at the end, we're going to have a little bit of a Q&A. So let's just begin. So a little bit about me is, if you can already see in the lower left-hand part of my screen, my name is Naomi Porter, which is kind of nice for Zoom. And I'm the CEO and founder of 2 businesses, Spice It Up and Bright Futures Tutoring. So Spice It Up sells affordable and portable spice kits marketed to travelers and bloggers from around the world. And Bright Futures Tutoring is a tutoring service, but when you're creating something as generic as a tutoring company, right, you need to figure out what's going to make yours stand out and what's going to make yours different. And so I'm going to detail that a little bit more of how we just made an impactful marketing plan and just have continued to grow ever since. And so I'm also the founder of EntrepreYOUership. You can do it too, which is an organization that provides free entrepreneurial education courses for youth who are interested in entrepreneurship, change making, and just advocacy. And so recently we've been partnering with just existing organizations just like this one, just to have conversations with people about what it means to be an entrepreneur, what it means to make lasting changes. And I'm also a national intern for Girl Scouts of the United States of America. So if you have any questions about landing internships or things like that, I would definitely be happy to talk to you about that. And I am an education reform advocate because as a self-educated entrepreneur, I have realized the importance of entrepreneurship and of change making because our education system doesn't prepare us for the jobs of today and tomorrow, because instead of asking people to solve a specific math problem, to research a specific person in history, to figure out the exact date and time of a war, or something like that, the list goes on and on. We are thinking of job specific paths, one problem. But when you get into the real world, there's not only one solution to every problem. And we need to train our brain to think of different solutions and different ideas to solutions of problems that exist in our world, like climate change, racial inequalities, economic injustices. There is no one right solution. And it starts with the youth. So I'm really branding myself as an education reform advocate because I think reforming our education system starts now, because we are the future and we need to be equipped for the jobs of today and tomorrow and for the jobs of that we are going to create. And so more recently, I've been featured in Forbes, which is something that I'm very proud of and excited for, just talking about youth entrepreneurship and advocacy. And really, what better platform than one of the biggest entrepreneur magazines really in the world to amplify the voices of youth. And we just talked about, I had an interview with this lady, and we just talked about sustainable development goals, how to outline our works with the United Nations, and just how to have impactful entrepreneurship and create things not only for the sole purpose of money, but also to make our world more equitable and more sustainable. And so enough about me. Let's talk about just entrepreneurship and what is this, right? Entrepreneurship is a word that has definitely been thrown out a lot because as we continue to adapt, we realize that there's really a difference between entrepreneurship and just being a business owner, right? Because there's a difference between a businesswoman and an entrepreneur, because entrepreneurship is creating something when there once was nothing. It's looking around your community and asking yourself how you can offer problems to the solutions that you see. It's filling a void, and you develop products, services, but also social movements. Like I mentioned previously, is it's not all about making money. It's not all about, being a 6 or 7 figure person. It's also about making social change. And so this organization that we're in today, this group that you're a part of, this is an example of entrepreneurship because it's a social movement. And again, being an entrepreneur does not require venture capital. It does not require an MBA. You don't have to have a Harvard law degree to make a business or to be an entrepreneur. And that's really what my organization, EntrepreYOUership, seeks to do, is to make this change and have it be youth-led in order to just debunk this myth that, you have to be well off to be an entrepreneur. You have to have years of education, because really you can start at a really young age. And so we have this term that's coined around a lot in the entrepreneur and business field, which is called an entrepreneurial mindset. And so most of you here today probably already have this. And so I've kind of developed it into 3 key stages, because there are a lot of attributes that definitely go along with being an entrepreneur and being a person in general. But I think it's come down to 3 main things: taking initiative, opportunity seeking, and flexible thinking. So initiative means being a go-getter, but also claiming the power to take ownership of a project. Instead of just going into the world and saying, oh, I wish we could do this. If only this happened. I wish, I wish, I wish. Instead, ask why not me. Take that initiative and go, why not me? What about my skills and what talents do I have to make it so that that problem in turns becomes a solution that I can take and turn my passions into my purpose? And so secondly is opportunity seeking, seeing these problems in the world as opportunities to create solutions. Again, not just calling out the world for all the problems that we have, because there are a lot of problems in the world. That's just a given, when I'm going to talk about that a little bit more about the sustainable development goals. But instead of just going, oh, if only my life could have been better, or if only this didn't happen, instead say, hey, I'm going to make a solution and I'm going to take action. And lastly is flexible thinking, because you need to be willing to change your plans in order to overcome present and future challenges, because being an entrepreneur means always adapting and always innovating. We've seen this with COVID-19, a lot of these businesses that had brick and mortar location, your classic bakery or any of things like that, you need to figure out how to utilize technology, how to still do it in a COVID safe way. And so there's so many things that you have to constantly be adapting to meet the constant demands of our ever-changing society. And so I've talked about this a little bit. So I've mentioned briefly, and I've briefly alluded to this, but the Sustainable Development Goals. So these are also known as the global goals, or the global goals for sustainable development. And there are 17 of them as outlined by the United Nations to make some sort of a lasting change. So these goals want to be achieved by 2030. And so there's really a wide variety of things. It's not the typical sustainable goals in the sense of, reduce, reuse, recycle, which are definitely important, but these are goals to make a more sustainable and equitable world. And so things range from simple as no poverty, zero hunger, to life below water, life on land, decent work and economic growth. And so as our generation, this is an opportunity for the space and creation of business models, because look at these problems as outlined by one of the biggest organizations in the world and figure out how your passions and interests line up with that and make an organization go partner with existing organizations, because we need to figure out how to align our businesses with these goals, because our generation just can't afford to wait, and our problems are really outnumbering our solutions. And so for me, each of my businesses align with the Sustainable Development Goals. And so Bright Futures and EntrepreYOUership align with SDG 8, which is smack dab in the middle of your screen, which is decent work and economic growth, because we provide a place for students who are interested in education, who are interested in business and change making, to actually go for it, all which enhances our society. And then Spice It Up, which is just a classic, sustainable development goals, because it's SDG 12, which is responsible consumption and production, because our kit is reusable, affordable, and it's an alternative to plastic. And so those are kind of how my businesses align with the Sustainable Development Goals. And so if you're thinking about doing an activism project or making a business, definitely align them with the SDGs, because it's essentially the best framework, and it's kind of a cheat sheet in a sense, because there already are the problems that are outlined. So instead of wondering, oh, what kind of problems exist in the world, go to the UN's website and say, how can I utilize my passions to actually turn these problems into a solution? And so let's talk a little bit just about marketing and networking. So I'll just touch a little bit briefly on this. And so it's so important to develop an advertising plan and figure out kind of how you're going to market yourself. And so even if you're not thinking about starting a business or starting a social movement, you also need to develop your personal brand. When people think your name, what do they think immediately after it, right? So many of the world's biggest people, when you think of, let's say, Michelle Obama, you probably think when we go low, they go high. That's definitely one of the first things that I think of. It's your classic catchphrase, when you think of Nike, right? You think just do it. And believe it or not, that's also corresponding to motivation. That's their main brand. And so whoever created Nike, that's probably their personal brand as well. And so for me, at the core of who I am, I want to equip our generation with the skills that they need to be successful, which is why I'm an education entrepreneur. And that's my core personal brand. So you need to figure out what's going to make yours different and what's going to give you an edge, and kind of what's that wow factor that makes you kind of stand apart from other people. And so I have this line of when things aren't going right, go left. And so for me, if you look to the right of your screen, you can see Spice It Up, which is my first business, which I started when I was 11. And so originally I had really great success. I was getting a lot of sales. But then hits this October, November season, and no one's really camping, no one's really traveling. Everyone's kind of cut back on their budgets. And so all of a sudden I had no sales. And so I had to figure out how I was going to kind of pivot and flip the switch in a sense. And so what I did is I sent emails to about 50 travel bloggers asking if they could review my product. And in exchange, I would give them a free product and they would give me a review. And so I got about 30 no's, 20 no responses, some combination of that, but I got one yes. And that one yes really shifted my mindset. And it's when I developed this idea of when things aren't going right, when things aren't going correctly, you have to figure out how to pivot and have that flexible thinking of an entrepreneurial mindset, right? To kind of adapt and do something differently, because you can't keep going in the same direction if it's not working. And then lastly, in terms of marketing and networking, don't wait to be invited, like there are so many seats at the table, take your seat, like that's kind of been a phrase that we hear a lot, like earn your seat at the table or apply for your seat on the table. Just take it and go for it, because you need to connect with other people kind of in your niche, follow organizations, peers, mentors, and influencers with the same key goal as you. And so for a lot of you here today, it's probably gender equality, women empowerment. And so align with organizations and follow other people who have similar goals as you, because together we can kind of create this lasting change, which is why I have this phrase of collaboration over competition, because only 31% of businesses are run by women. And of the Fortune 500 companies, only 6.6% are female CEOs. And so as women, we need to emphasize collaboration over competition, because we need to have this kind of we over me mentality, because individualism is not going to solve the world's biggest questions and the world's biggest problems. We need to unify and we need to kind of have these conversations with like-minded individuals so we can use our strengths and our talents to collaborate to not only just make like economic enterprises, but also ones of social value. Because as women, we need to uplift each other. We need to support each other constantly. So that way, because you never know who that person might be to you a couple of years down the road. Maybe they'll be your business partner. Maybe they'll just be someone who helps you. And so instead of, tearing people down, let's lift each other, because we're really stronger when we collaborate, when we have our best minds and our best talents working on these problems that are core to each of our beliefs. And so if you are interested, there are startup funding opportunities. This is something that I always include in just a lot of my presentations, because a lot of times people come and they're like, okay, I have this idea, I want to be an activist, I want to be an advocate, I want to be an entrepreneur, but how do I get started? I have this idea, but I need money. And so definitely apply for some of these. A lot of them are due in mid-April, so you have lots of time. If you ever need any help working on your startup funding pitch competition or anything like that, please feel free to reach out to me, because like I said, collaboration over competition, and I'd be more than happy to talk with you and just have these conversations, because again, that's what's going to move our country forward. And so there is also an opportunity for all of you here today to actually be featured on my organization's Instagram page. And so every couple of months, we do a quick, a little bit of a survey, and we just put it out there so you can just get a quote and we'll tag you. And so it'll just be a little bit of testimonial about just what you learned and things like that. And so I don't know if you're allowed to click on this, but if not, I will put it in the chat. And so it's just a couple of quick questions that you can answer. I'll actually walk you through it right now. And so just your name, where you live, your Instagram handle. If you want to be tagged, if you don't want to be tagged, totally fine. One new thing you've learned from this workshop, how you can use entrepreneurship in your life, how your passions intersect with entrepreneurship, and anything else you want to share. Feel free to answer as many or as little of these questions as possible. And yeah, and I will paste that actually in the chat right now that I am thinking about it. Okay. Okay. And so my last kind of piece of advice is just to get started today, because really entrepreneurship looks different for everybody, and advocacy and activism looks different on everybody. There is no set path, so you really have to make your own way. There's no right way to do entrepreneurship, and you have to do it because it matters to you, not because it matters to the world, because there are 17 sustainable development goals. You can't address every single one of them in a business model or in your life ever. So you need to make sure that what you're doing resonates with you and you're passionate about it, and you utilize your skills and your talents to make a difference, and just don't overthink the process. Like I mentioned, there's really no way to do this. This hasn't been done before. Entrepreneurship is definitely a Gen Z kind of millennial Gen X sort of an idea. There hasn't been like a set script of like, okay, this is what you do. You do 4 years of college, then you do this, then you start your business. There is no timeline. Create your own timeline, because our world really is waiting for you, for your ideas and for your talents. And we need them to create a more sustainable and equitable future that no one is really left behind. So we can all just be on this path of professional stability and just personal dignity. And so with that, I would love to connect with any of you. I'm pretty much Naomi Porter PV on every platform ever available. And basically any new platform, just type in Naomi Porter PV and I am probably on there. And I will for sure follow all of you back, because like I mentioned, collaboration over competition is so important. You don't have to have more followers than following. I'm definitely a strong believer in that. And so you can also feel free to follow my organization at GSEntrepreneurs, because that is where you'll get your Instagram feature and all those fun things. And so with that, we're moving into our Q&A portion. So we can just talk about all things entrepreneurship, getting internships, marketing strategies, publicity, networking, startups, mentorship, really anything that you have on your mind, Gen Z. And if you have any other additional questions or want to connect, please, please, please feel free to reach out to me, because like I said, collaboration over competition, and I will respond to you. Definitely. If you shoot me a DM and you're like, hey, I was from this workshop, I will definitely respond and we can have a conversation. And so with that, I'll stop sharing my screen. I will put the link in the chat and we'll get going into more of our Q&A and conversation portion of this event. So let me put it in the chat. So there is, and it's also available. The form is at the link in my personal bio, and also EntrepreYOUership's bio as well. So it's super accessible if you're interested in that. So let's get going into the Q&A portion.
While we wait for, hopefully no one has their question right yet, I just have one thing to say. So thank you so much, Naomi, for that amazing presentation. It was really inspiring, and yeah, I just am honored that you are here today. And I wanted to add on so that all of you know, Naomi literally took the initiative she was talking about. She does what she's telling you, and it works, because she's here presenting today, and you're here today because of her initiative to reach out to Women of Wonder. And if you're interested, just briefly, since we shared links, Naomi, if you want to type your handle, like Instagram handle, in the chat, then people could probably like find that too. But yeah, I think you'll be able to see the slides later in video form. So if you don't know them, then that's also perfect. But I will share the Women of Wonder link tree, where you can find our website and Instagram, and then yeah, my Instagram handle too. So I'll just share those in the chat. And you have a wealth of resources. You can save the chat if you go to the 3 dots, I believe. Yeah, save chat. So thanks, Naomi. And we can continue with the Q&A.
Of course. The chat is everything. Oh my goodness. For sure, for sure. So yeah, does anyone have any questions, comments? I'd love to just talk with you guys and just have a conversation.
Yeah, I have a question. I don't know if I can speak aloud or if I was supposed to put in the chat. But first off, just your presentation and everything was super inspiring. And as an aspiring entrepreneur, it's great that like you're empowering youth. And also, I also think that education is super important. So it's great that like we have kind of like-minded interests. So my question was, I know that you started your business at 11, which is super great. So what resources did you need to create that startup, such as like any capital or like a support system? Like kind of what resources did you need to start that business?
Yeah, that's a great question. I definitely needed a lot of support because I was a sixth grader. And so I think even really at any age, you definitely need support. I mean, everyone would be lying to you if they said they didn't get any support from anybody. And so in terms of monetary support, I entered and won a startup funding competition. And so that was through the Young Entrepreneurs Academy. So that is a global organization for 6th to 12th graders who are interested in entrepreneurship. And so it's kind of think like Shark Tank, but on a much smaller level. And so there were a bunch of investors from like the Rotary Club, from like golf courses, banks, all those places. They sent investors who actually had money to give students who were interested in entrepreneurship. And so from there, I actually got the money to make all of my startup kits. And so that was been great for me because there's really no problem in the cost, in the sense of everything that I make is pure profit. And so I don't have to worry if I made, a marketing error or some problem like that. And so definitely would recommend looking out for startup funding opportunities, because there are so many startup funding opportunities out there, and there are so many people who want to invest in youth and who have made it kind of big per se, and so they now want to give back, and so they kind of don't know where to give it back to, so they definitely do startup funding competitions, and so it's sometimes hard to find, but I can put those in the chat if you are interested, or feel free to DM me on Instagram and I can give them to you there as well. And then in terms of mentor support, I think my biggest support system has been from external people, not necessarily typical, like, teachers or principals. Well, they definitely help me with schoolwork and understanding, log functions and graphing over X and Y and all those fun things, not as much in the entrepreneurship world. So I've definitely relied on just reaching out to people for, tax advice, legal advice. Is what I'm doing legal? Is what I'm doing legal? Like, that is a question I've asked myself so many times, and it's so important. And something that I've learned is that definitely that don't be afraid to reach out to people, because you never know kind of what response you will receive. And people really do want to help youth. If someone spent 50 years being a tax attorney or doing legal work, they know this like off the back of their hand, and they want to help you. No one goes, oh, I don't want to help young kids, not even young kids, just like people under the age of 30, I would consider it young, when it's your career and it's your passion, you definitely want to help other people. So those are kind of the two main things that I got in terms of support. That's a great question, Melinda, and I love it.
Sorry, I didn't unmute myself, but yeah, thank you so much for answering my question. I had another one about mentorships in general. So I'm not sure if you had like a personal mentor who kind of guided you along your way with the 3 businesses that you have, one of them being a nonprofit, I believe. Yeah, so how did you kind of like, if you did have a mentor, how did you find your mentor and how did you maintain that connection over a long period of time?
Yeah, that's a great question, because a lot of times mentors are really hard to find, because you need to be like thick with your mentor, because it like can't just be, it's complicated getting a mentor. So I'd say like a couple of things. So my main like mentor and like is probably my mother, which is kind of funny, but she's definitely like my partner in crime in a sense. But then again, my mom is a teacher, so she doesn't necessarily know the legal aspects of things. And so how to find a mentor, I would say, is to go with existing organizations, because they already have kind of like a mentorship area intact. And so it's definitely hard to find a mentor. And like, I don't doubt the process. It's been difficult, but now I have one who I can really rely on a lot of things for, because we've been working together since really I was in like 5th grade and ran for 5th grade student council president. And I was like, I need help writing this speech. And she was like, okay, I got you. And so you definitely need to have someone who will respond to you like no matter what. And so it's hard to find those people, because you need to rely on them constantly. You need to know, like both of you need to know what's happening with the other person consistently, and you both have to be willing and ready to work with each other, because that's the thing with a mentor. It's not just like, okay, the mentor gives you advice, and you just like soak it all in and do exactly what they say. It's a conversation. It's a continual conversation. And so if you don't find mentors in school, which is like the most obvious place, again, our education system needs some help, but the most obvious place to look when you think of like adults who know things and how to work with kids is probably your school. But those teachers definitely, they work hard. I know I'm going to be a teacher. So like those 9 to like noon or 9 to 5 shifts are hard. And so sometimes they don't necessarily have the stamina necessarily to help people, and nor the expertise. And so I would say the main places to look for mentors would be social media, which is kind of funny because I have met some of the best people through social media. And I think I know more people on social media than I do in my regular life, which is kind of funny, and more people that are kind of similar to me. And so reach out to people on social media. And then the second thing is to go to your local chamber of commerce. And so I don't know, do you know what the chamber of commerce is? I'll kind of explain. It's like, think of it as like ASB, but like for a city. So it's like, kind of like the city council, but it's like more of like for beneficiaries. And so for like more of like do good, if that makes sense. And so they have a lot of people who have expertise, most of which are retired. And so retired people are definitely where I would look for mentors because they have time, they have willingness, and they have expertise. The only thing that's a little bit tricky there is technology. And so definitely get their phone number or live close to them. Those are kind of my big advice for mentors because it's hard. It's not easy.
Yeah, I definitely agree with like finding organizations that have mentorship programs. I know that a bunch of them, like I think WAVE, Superposition, they have great mentorship programs.
Your position.
Yeah, so thank you so much for answering that question. And another question that I had was, I know that you are really doing a lot right now with like all your passion projects and everything. So in terms of like careers, do you have an idea of like what you want to be? I think you said you wanted to be a teacher, if I'm correct. So yeah, do you see yourself like being that teacher at an early age, or like kind of where do you see yourself in 5 or 10 years?
Yeah, that's a great question. So hopefully I'll be in college. Fingers crossed I get in. I know I'll go somewhere, so that's good. So I want to go to college and double major in education and then social policy and more of like the business sort of a component of education because, like I said, my passions are entrepreneurship, our education reform, and equipping our generation and the next generations with the skills that they need to be successful. And so, what better place than education? And so I want to be a teacher for like maybe like 5 years and then get my doctorate in education. And so that's when the social policy degree and major will come in handy because I want to kind of rise the ranks and become more of on the administrative side of being in the education system and hopefully work my way up to being a principal, potentially a superintendent, head of California. That would be great. And, you know, maybe like dream job would be like the Secretary of Education for the United States. And so kind of intertwining my passions for business, my passions for leading, social policy, and education. So that's kind of where I see myself down the road, but you never know where life takes you. I think we've seen that definitely with this pandemic, is you never know, you know, I could have this idea for a business that I think is viable, get some investors and just go from there. You know, I could see myself being happy in just a lot of different places. But as of right now, that's kind of the path that I'm on. But yeah, that's a great question. I love that.
Thank you so much. I don't have any more questions at the moment, but if I do, I'll definitely either contact you or if it's before this meeting ends, I'll ask you.
For sure, for sure. And please feel free to reach out. Like I genuinely mean like reach out to me, like I will respond, even if it's as simple as a hey, how are you doing? Like I will respond, or just a random question you have. Please, please, please DM either of my accounts. I'm on there all the time. A little too much, but I love social media. It's definitely where I'm at. It's where I've met people like you guys. So it's definitely helpful for sure.
Actually, now that you mentioned social media, I had another question. So
Yeah.
in terms of LinkedIn, I think I connected with you a few weeks ago, but have you used LinkedIn to kind of like find internships or anything, or like mentors, like on that topic again? So yeah, like how did you use LinkedIn and use it to its full potential?
Yes, LinkedIn is huge and a great aspect. So I have only been on LinkedIn for about since October because I was one of those kids who was like, oh my goodness, I can't even say it, believe I'm saying this, but you had to be 16 to get LinkedIn. And so I was like, okay, I gotta wait. So I did it on my 16th birthday. I'm not even kidding. Like October 23rd this year, I was like, I'm turning 16, time to get LinkedIn. So I haven't been on LinkedIn for a while, but then I realized you didn't even need to say your age, but you know, I'm a rule abider. So there we go. So I've definitely used LinkedIn. I kind of figured out what my key passions were, and then I followed similar organizations. And so kind of as I was mentioning before, so I followed Girl Scouts of the United States of America, which is where I have my internship with. And Girl Scouts has a lot of core values that are similar to my own. And then I looked at who worked there and I just connected with all of them. And then a lot of them, they sent me personalized messages because we've connected in the past, but definitely don't be afraid to just reach out on LinkedIn and like send, when you're connecting with someone, send them a personalized note, because that makes it different between a connection and like an actual connection. Because you can have like the physical connection, but to actually have a conversation, to take that from a connection to a conversation is huge. And so a lot of people from there have reached out to me and they have just said like, oh, I love the work that you're doing. I would love, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. And so that's where I found a lot of mentors and just a lot of people who kind of have my back in a way, you know, like if I post something or if I need any help, I know that I can reach out to people. And then in terms of finding internships, figure out on LinkedIn, there are so many opportunities, like constantly. Like if you want an opportunity every day, if you want something to apply for every single day, you can find them on LinkedIn. So definitely figure out what people around you follow. You know, some places I would recommend following are like Superposition, Girls Who Code, especially if you're interested in like science and STEM, Girls Who Code, Built by Girls, Superposition, Girls Who STEAM, Girls Who STEM. You can just, if you don't know like necessarily what organizations you want to connect with or what people you want to connect with, just type in some keywords. You know, like I just typed in entrepreneurship, women empowerment, and I followed all those places. I followed their CEOs. I followed people who worked for the CEOs, you know, really like targeting a specific group of people, because those are the people you want to collaborate with, and then send them a personalized message. Ooh, something else to make you stand out on LinkedIn. Endorse people for things. Don't be afraid to endorse people for things. You know, like if you see someone doing something amazing, endorse them, because that'll just give them, if not just a little boost of serotonin, that'll also just give them, you know, like, oh, I remember that person. They endorsed me, you know, for LinkedIn. They've endorsed me for leadership or entrepreneurship or things like that. And so that really helps you kind of take it one step further. Oh, another thing. On LinkedIn, you can have a personalized banner. Would recommend using that instead of just like a generic, like a leaf or like a sunshine or like something like that, because that's going to make your profile stand out to other people. And then if you are using LinkedIn specifically for what LinkedIn is used for, which is to like, you know, find different job opportunities, you can put in like the little, it's like a half moon that you can say like you're looking for work. And I would recommend doing that. And then at the top of your profile, when it's like about kind of where you would put your bio and your interests, the first thing you should do is, I'm looking for, be specific. Don't just be like, I'm looking for a new work, you know, because, well, what does that mean? You know, like everyone can be looking for new work. You know, my new work that I might want to do is just, you know, I don't know, interning at a random place, or it could just be as simple as I want to do 2 hours of volunteer work with you, you know. So be very specific in your asking, because especially with cold call emails, cold call DMs, you can't just say, I would love to partner with you. I would love to collaborate with you, because that's super open-ended and you need to be specific, especially with bigger organizations. So definitely be like, my passions are this, 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 my talents are this, this, and this, and I'm looking for a job that has this, this, and this. So that's how I would recommend using LinkedIn. Let me see if I can think of anything else that I've utilized for LinkedIn. Oh, like a bunch of people's posts, comment on them. I think that's like normal, but do it more so like, just get up in the morning, you know, if you're like brushing your hair or just like doing nothing, just, you know, like a bunch of comments on LinkedIn. You can even control copy, control paste, same comment. I've definitely done that before, of like, this is so amazing, I love your work, let's collaborate, or something like that. You know, definitely don't underestimate the power of control copy, control paste, because you never know where you can take that. You can definitely utilize that. And then, yeah, those are like my main thoughts. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. No, those are the main things. Oh, definitely use the features button where you've been featured. That's definitely helpful for sure. And even if it doesn't seem significant, like even if it's just like, okay, this was someone just, I don't know, made a random Instagram post about me or something like that, just copy the link and paste it in there, because you never know who's looking for you, and you never know what they're looking for, because every recruiter, every internship is looking for something different. And so you're a full package. You might do a whole bunch of different things, but some people might not like the entrepreneurship part of Naomi Porter. Some people might not like the activism part. Maybe you don't like women empowerment. Maybe you're just like, okay, that's not a thing for me. That's totally fine, because you need to have a diverse range of things. So that way they see a little bit of you that you're like, oh, I like that. I want to commit to that. Let's go for it. Those are like my main thoughts on LinkedIn. Oh my gosh, I can't believe, sorry, I'm taking up a lot of, okay, we have time, it's good. Last thing is to sign up for lots of events. There are events on LinkedIn, and that's how you can meet people. So like with Superposition, with all these places, they all host events and they publicize the events on LinkedIn. Click the link. You don't even have to show up. You don't have to show your face. You don't have to do anything. Just click the link, see if it's interesting to you. And you're like, okay, I have an hour on a Saturday. Let's go show up to these places, because you can connect with a lot of like-minded individuals, and that's where you can get mentors, and that's where you can get all these things. So if you figure out what your key interests are, there are so many opportunities on LinkedIn, and you can actually personalize your profile to be looking for specific things like webinars and things like that. So like for me, I've turned those off because I'm not interested in that at this moment, but I am interested in seeing them, if that makes sense. So like, I don't want to attend them, but I'm interested in seeing them. And so you can kind of customize that for sure. So those are like my big LinkedIn tips. LinkedIn is so huge and there's so many different things. So like I could probably do a whole hour and a half on just LinkedIn, but that's a good question, because LinkedIn is definitely a little bit more powerful for networking than Instagram for sure.
Yeah, I agree with like everything you said. I got LinkedIn like 2 weeks ago, and I don't know why the age requirement didn't come up. I remember a few months ago I tried to sign up and it had like the 16 years of age. I'm 14, by the way. I'm a freshman in high school, so I couldn't sign up by that time. And I saw like so many people sharing their LinkedIns, and I was really, I guess, jealous, because I really wanted to connect with people, and LinkedIn's like one of the most professional places you can do that. So I tried again 2 weeks ago, and the age requirement didn't come up. So I was like, yay. And I got
I know some apps are weird like that. Sometimes they do it, sometimes they don't. Because I remember I was like so determined. I was like, I'm going to sign up for LinkedIn. It's going to happen. It was like this summer, and then there was like an age thing. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't get it. Like, no, because all my friends, just like you, Melinda, I was like, all my friends and I was a freshman in high school last year. I was 14 last year. Wow, that's crazy to think about. And so I was 14 last year, and all my friends were getting LinkedIn. I was like, gosh, I want that too. And I'm the oldest of my friend group. So I was like, oh, then I can for sure get it. But I feel your pain. But now you have it. Good.
I have one last question. Sorry for all of these questions.
Oh my gosh, I love questions. Questions are
Yeah, so kind of going off of the LinkedIn question, how have you kind of explored personal branding through multiple social media platforms? So I know you have Instagram, you kind of work a lot there, and then LinkedIn, you obviously have polished that profile. So in terms of like personal branding, I don't know if you have like a personal website or anything, if you want to share that, but yeah, how have you kind of utilized that to your advantage?
I would love to show you guys that. Okay, so in terms of my personal brand, so here is my lovely organization's account. So in terms of personal branding, use a link tree. Women of Wonder has an amazing link tree, which is super cool. And so I use my personal website, which is I use a Cardco for my personal website. And so I have like a business email. So that's just for people who want to do, collaboration, sponsorships, all those things, speaking events. And so with there, I have it connected to, like you mentioned, the ones that I'm really on, which are LinkedIn, Instagram, and then I have it connected right back to my link tree. And so all of my things connect with each other. And so that's what I would recommend doing. So here's my link tree, which has like all the places that I've been featured. And then you can just click back here and you're back to the website. And so it's all interconnected. And so I kind of originally, this is a mistake that I made early on. And so if you're looking to go into entrepreneurship and activism, have a personal website. I didn't have a personal website for so long, and people can only learn this much about you from your link tree. They just see, because if you click on my link tree, you go, okay, she's been featured a lot of places, but what does she do? What is she? You can maybe click on here. It takes a while to figure it out. It's a couple of clicks. And by that point, like a click, 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 it's people are getting annoyed, and so you definitely need to utilize that. And so just do like 3-4 4 paragraphs about what you are, you know, your key points, your highlights, and then say, if you want to learn more, click here, and then put like your best link wherever you've been published the most places or something like that as well. So that way, if people want to know anything about me, I'm just like, click on this Forbes article and read. So I definitely utilized a personal website, but again, I got this personal website in 2021, which is this year. So I got it maybe like in January, because I realized, oh my goodness, all these other people have it. And so don't be afraid to just put yourself out there, use your link in bio, utilize all those things, and see what other people are doing. Like I have connected and collaborated with so many activists and entrepreneurs who are I have never met in person, but who are in this like internet sort of a world, who are all doing similar things. And I noticed, my goodness, you have a personal website, you have a personal website, you have a personal website, get me a personal website. How do I do this? You know? And so I would definitely recommend using Wix, using Cardco. They're free, they are user-friendly. I'm not the best with technology, graphic design, or any of those things, but I figured out how to use those. So would recommend using those for sure. And having links connect to links connects to links. So that way, if people type you up, you know, Melinda Wang, that way, that's the first thing that comes up, you know, like if it's your personal website, if it's your link tree, if it's an article you've been featured in, all those places, you want to make sure you have as much visibility as possible.
Yeah, that's really cool. So yeah, thank you for all your advice. I know I had a bunch of questions. I kind of just threw them at you all at once. But
Oh
yeah,
my
thank
goodness.
you so much.
Of course.
Also, if I could ask one more thing,
Yeah.
could you drop the Instagram for, oh wait, it's in the chat already. Okay, never mind.
Here, and then everything's linked right there, and then everything is linked here. And
Okay.
so, yeah. And everything links to each other. So it's great, because if you click on my personal Instagram, it links to GS. And then with there, it links to the link tree, which links to my link tree, which links to my website, which links to my Instagram. So it's like the full circle, kind of like a unit circle in math, but like make it advertising and Instagram worthy, right? So for sure, there's a lot of ways that we can connect, and I'd love to connect with you. So with that, thank you all so much for having me. This has been really fun. And if there are any more questions, please feel free to DM either of my organization's account. I'm on there, like I said, pretty much from the hours of like 6 to 6. So that works out nicely. And so thank you guys just so much for having me. I've had a great way to just kick off my Saturday.
Thank you so much for answering all the questions, for being here, and thank you participants for asking questions. Also, Melinda, just to go off of your question in the chat, it is above, and I can drop a link too, but let me know if you see it. I believe it should be in our link tree also.
Right, I see it. Sorry, there's so many links in the chat. I just got a little confused.
No, don't worry. You can also save the chat. Just a reminder, because this was like revolutionary for me. You can save the chat if you don't want to individually like click on all the links now, because it is a lot. Sorry for the bombardment on my part, but thank you for your amazing questions and amazing answers, Naomi. And thanks for staying a little bit over, but you know, it's perfect because Zoom gifted us more time. And I was going to add that Naomi is really a social media master in my eyes, and you've just proven, you know, it's really been an empowering session for me, because that's actually like pretty much my weak area is social media and interacting in a timely manner, because I love connecting and I love storytelling and uplifting other people's stories, but like sometimes it's just, even if you're not inclined for social media, or if you are, sometimes it can just be so much out there, and you have to really realize, I guess, like what you want in that experience with social media, and what furthers your own passions and others' connections as well. So you've really shown us how to, even people who aren't inclined for social media, how to like make the most of what you want and what you have and what you need and are looking for. So thank you so much, everyone. And yeah, you'll be able to watch this again on YouTube, and have an amazing day.
Yeah, thank you all so much, and I'll see you all around. Please feel free to reach out to me or DM me. I'll be more than happy to connect. So thank you all so much, and have a great Saturday.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.